Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. So we were cut off on the first part of the April 2020 horoscope for Virgo Sun, Moon, or Rising. So this is the second part. If you have not watched the first part, I would recommend that you go ahead and go back to that first. This will be the continuation of that. And so if you missed out on the first part, you can go ahead and go back. I go through all of the cards and what they had to say, and starting a little bit here into the charts. So I'm going to go ahead and finish out the charts here in this second part. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell down below so that you don't miss out on any new content. Now, continuing here, we just finished off talking about Venus in Gemini, and now we are here on April 4th with this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. And we had spoke a little bit about this earlier in that first chart where we talked about Venus in Gemini. Now this is the point where Jupiter and Pluto come into this direct conjunction. And so here with Pluto and Jupiter conjoined, this is this ultimate transformation to help you expand in terms of having fun, introducing a new romance into your life, expressing yourself, getting into creative hobbies, right? We talked earlier about this ultimately being, for those of you with Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially those of you with Virgo Rising, as this is in your 5th house, that this is all about you letting go of these restrictions and limits and blocks that you put on yourself and finally letting loose, finally allowing yourself to have fun, to enjoy life, to express yourself, to take on these opportunities for new love and connection to come into your life. So this is an ultimate time of allowing yourself to experience this pleasure and joy and happiness within your life. And this is making an aspect over to Venus, which is now at 1 degrees of Gemini here on April 4th. And this is sitting here once again in your public house, where this is opening up the experience of once again finding love, finding connection, finding new values, finding worth in your connection with your public life, with your connection in your professional life, with your connection with others. So we're seeing this big call for you to express yourself more, to put yourself out there more, to take on these opportunities and experiences that are here opening themselves up to you, Virgo. Now, what's interesting here is that this is making a square over to the moon in Virgo. So if we go back to April 4th, this is the moon sitting in your 1st house of your identity, of the way that you come off to others, your perspective on life, right? This is your appearance, your identity. And the moon sitting here can bring up a lot of feelings, a lot of emotion, a lot of expression, which once again goes along with this Venus in your 10th house, as well as this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction going on in your 5th house, where this is really pulling and calling for you to express yourself. Now with this though, many of you may feel sensitive, may feel emotional about putting these feelings and these thoughts out there, right? There can be a little bit of this hesitation or fear as the moon sitting here in your 1st house, making you a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more emotional about these energies that are trying to push you to really express yourself, And so with this could be a time of really feeling these fears and doubts and sensitivities around putting yourself out into the forefront. For some of you, you may feel this need to be more sensitive, more compassionate, more emotional with the moon sitting here in your first house. And so there's a little bit of this inner conflict between being able to express your thoughts and your feelings to others and being in this emotional space of wanting to feel comfortable, wanting to feel safe in who you are. So let's go ahead and take a look at this next major shift, which will happen once again on April 7th. This is this full moon that is happening later on this evening, right? And we talked about how this moon is coming into this conjunction with Juno, and it's going to make an aspect over to Pluto conjoined with Jupiter as well, creating this big explosive transformation and expansion in your life in terms of expressing yourself, in terms of putting yourself out there once again. So there is this call to be more expressive about your values, about the things that you love, about what it is that you truly want, right? So there's this element here with the moon sitting in your house of self-worth, of your possessions, of your values, where what is it that you find worth in? What is it that you value? And especially as it is playing into relationships and connections to others. This is also making a quincunx over to Neptune, which is playing a big role in this as well. As once again, this is calling for you to be faithful. This is calling for you to find higher and greater connections and to believe in the dream and the possibilities and these moments of opportunity that are coming into you and your relationships, your connections, right? With Neptune here, there is this element of needing to believe, needing to trust in the process, that what it is that you truly want and desire and dream of can be true and real in your reality. And so to know more about this full moon, go ahead and check out the new video, Full Moon in Libra, for those of you who would like to know more about how this shift can greatly affect you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next major shift, which takes place here on April 11th, when Mercury enters Aries. And so as Mercury starts to leave your 7th house and goes ahead and enters into your 8th house of secrets, fears, intense desires and emotions hidden behind the scenes, intimacy, sex, contracts, right? This place of other people's resources. And so this is a space of really attaining connection and resources and power through other people, right? This is all about this connection and this intimacy and these hidden desires here in your 8th house, where there's a lot going on here, right? We have the Sun, we have Chiron, we have Lilith, and now we have Mercury entering in here, where are you willing to experience this true desire and passion and intimacy? Are you willing to accept and receive this pleasure into your life? And we talked about that earlier with the cards as well, and with this Venus entering into Gemini, as well as Pluto and Jupiter sitting back in that 5th house, that this is really ultimately a time of accepting this true joy and pleasure and happiness and connection and fulfillment into your life. But there is this need of truly letting go and accepting this completely, as this is your 8th house, right? The 8th house being related to Scorpio, where there is a little bit of this intense transformation that needs to take place, right? Which is happening in your 5th house, also dealing with pleasure and romance and expression and joy, where you have to be willing to let go of the restraints and the restrictions that are preventing you from experiencing this true joy and pleasure in your relationships, in your life, in your experiences. And Mercury is also making a sextile over to this North Node in Cancer. And keep in mind that the North Node is here at 1 degrees of Cancer, so it is getting to that critical degree. It's getting to that sense of urgency where now it is time to take action here in nurturing this 11th house of Cancer, which is all about your friends, your connections, your social gatherings, right? Your public life. This is about your hopes, your wishes, your dreams being fulfilled long term. And so with this, are you willing to accept the comfort and the connection in your friendships, in your public life, in this social area of truly expressing yourself and completely having these goals and wishes and dreams fulfilled for you? Do you believe that this can happen? Do you trust in the process of this happening completely and fully, and being this experience that is completely emotionally fulfilling and that is comfortable and bringing this ultimate sense of connection and fulfillment into your life? And so there's a little bit of this struggle here with Mercury coming into your 8th house. It is here bringing you the answers, bringing you the guidance, bringing you the solutions of how you can experience this pleasure and this joy and this happiness in your life. And the North Node is sitting there saying, but are you willing to move into that direction to experience that, right? The North Node is all about our destiny of where we are going, what we are learning, what we are experiencing. And it's here at these last few degrees of Cancer before it goes ahead and moves back into Gemini, where are you willing to experience that ultimate joy and connection? Now this is also making a trine over to the moon in Sagittarius. Right, so we are past this full moon in Libra, this great choice, this great decision, and now we're here at the moon in Sagittarius, where it is encouraging you to be more adventurous, to have more fun, to have more experiences, and it is sitting in your house of home and family. This is all about your intimate connections. This is all about your home life, right, where many of you are very much used to this change and this adventure and this experience here in your home life, right? Many of you experienced traveling, experienced learning and philosophy and bringing in different cultures and different experiences into the home life here with Sag sitting in your 4th house. And so with the moon here, it is asking you to once again do what is comfortable and safe, what is familiar to the home, which is taking on these new experiences, these new adventures, accepting these new opportunities, right? This is a huge theme here, where this is really asking you to be open to the joy, to the pleasure, to the happiness, to the experience that you can gain from these ultimate opportunities that are here entering into your life. Now, this is also making an aspect over to Pluto and Jupiter, once again sitting in your 5th house, trying to help you transform out of these fears and these blocks so that you can experience the ultimate joy and happiness in your life. And this is also making an aspect over to Saturn and Mars conjunct, sitting in that sixth house of daily responsibilities, of routines, where it is time for you to put your service and your work and your effort and your time out for others to see. And so, once again, there is this huge theme here of connection, of relationships, of expressing yourself, experiencing this joy in your life. So let's go ahead and look at this next major shift, which will take place on April 19th when the Sun enters into Taurus. And so this is starting off a brand new season here with the Sun entering into Taurus. And right away, the Sun is making a conjunction with Uranus in Taurus. And so this is sitting back in this ninth house of philosophy, of experience, where ultimately Uranus is here and has been here for a while to open you up to these new, radical, different experiences in your life. So this is here to shake up your belief systems, your experiences, and to open you up to these new opportunities, right? Going along with the theme of this April horoscope here. And it is in the conjunction with the Sun, where the Sun is shining a light here on your belief systems, on your experiences, on what you are open to ultimately experience here on this journey, on this quest of higher knowledge and truth, and of wisdom and adventure and travel. And so here it is really once again asking you to open yourself up to these opportunities and experiences of ultimate connection in your life. And it is making a sextile over to this North Node in Cancer, which once again is sitting in that 11th house of really, once again, putting your thoughts and your ideas out there for others to see, finding this ultimate connection and this emotional fulfillment in really being social and expressive and putting those thoughts and those ideas out there for others to see. And this is also making the aspect over to, once again, Jupiter and Pluto sitting in that fifth house, again, trying to get you to remove these blocks and these fears to transform you, to help you experience these new opportunities of joy, of happiness, of pleasure in your life. It's also making the aspect now to Saturn in Aquarius, no longer to Mars. Mars has moved ahead. It is about halfway through Aquarius now, right? Mars is a much faster planet than Saturn. Saturn's still sitting here at the beginning of Aquarius, where it is once again asking you to take that responsibility in utilizing your skills and your time and your effort, putting the work in to ultimately express yourself. So there's this big call here for you, Virgo, especially for those of you with Virgo rising, but even for those of you with Virgo Sun or Moon, you may feel this as well, that there's this ultimate call here, once again, to fully express yourself, to fully experience in the joy and happiness and the opportunity that is being given to you here in April. So let's go ahead and take a look at this next major shift, which takes place on April 22nd when we have a new moon in Taurus. So this is starting us off on a new lunar cycle. And once again, this Sun is still in a conjunction with Uranus. The moon has come in here to join into this conjunction, So now we have the two luminaries here shining a light on Uranus, which is once again sitting in that ninth house, where it is shifting your belief systems, it's shifting your experiences to experience something new, something different. It's time to change things up in what you believe is possible and what you can experience here. And this can bring up a lot of emotional feelings of really wanting to change things up in terms of these very solid belief systems and ideas and experiences that many of you with Virgo rising are subjective to, right? Taurus sitting in your ninth house can make you very stubborn about your belief systems, about what you can experience, right? Many of you are comfortable with more familiar, more routine, more structured experiences, and Uranus sitting here is really here to open up this experience to something that is new, something that is different. And so Uranus sitting here is really causing chaos and making you feel uncomfortable here in this ninth house for the purpose of helping you expand in your experiences and opportunities in life. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next major shift. And once again, this new moon is making an aspect over to the North Node, as well as Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. So very similar story. We're going to go ahead and move ahead to this Pluto Retrograde, which takes place on April 25th. So this is the first major retrograde before we start to enter into this retrograde season, right? So the first retrograde we experienced was Mercury retrograde, which is not as serious as a retrograde, right? We tend to make the Mercury retrograde bigger than it is. It is this tiny planet dealing with these tiny issues of thinking and communicating and these ideas and these familiar details within our environment. But as we start to get into these planets that are farther away from the sun, we start to get into these much more intense, much more heavier retrogrades. And so this is the first one, right? This Pluto retrograde is shifting us into this retrograde season, as we are going to see Saturn and Jupiter station retrograde next month in May. We're also going to see Neptune station retrograde in June, as well as Mars station retrograde in September. So we're entering now into this retrograde season here, where things start to get more intense, starting us off here with Pluto stationing retrograde in a conjunction to Jupiter, right? So we talked about that earlier, about how this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to play a big role into this Pluto retrograde, which this Pluto retrograde is deepening and intensifying this ultimate change and transformation and death that is happening here in your fifth house, where once again this is trying to help you in changing, right? For many of you, Capricorn is sitting in your fifth house, where you're very serious, right? Very much the things that bring you joy and fun are very serious, very intense, very much work-oriented, right? This is asking you to let go of that. It's asking you to have fun, to have more experience and more joy into your life. And so really breaking down these more serious walls here in your fifth house. And this is making the aspect over to Lilith, which is in a conjunction with Mercury. And so with Lilith and Mercury sitting here at the last degrees of Aries, where things are starting to simmer down a little bit, right? This transition from Aries to Taurus is where things start to get a little bit more calm, a little bit more rational. Things start to slow down here, where the information that is being given to you here about connection, about these deeper feelings and experiencing this passion and this pleasure and this opportunity, and allowing this good fortune and these positive experiences to come into your life are strongly being highlighted and starting to make more sense, right? Starting to become more practical, starting to become more serious here. Those of you starting to want to experience these deeper feelings more, and especially as Lilith is sitting in your 8th house, that Lilith is already dealing with these intense feelings and desires, and sitting here in the 8th house where this energy is very similar, right? A very similar tone here of Lilith in the 8th house. And so really these deeper feelings and desires, even more intense here, as Mercury is here to bring this to the light, to the surface, to start to make sense, to starting to become more logical, more meaningful to those of you with Virgo rising, especially as Mercury is your ruler, right? This is not only how we as a collective make sense of things is through Mercury, but especially for those of you with Virgo rising, as this is your very ruler, your chart ruler. So this is ultimately your perspective on life. And so this is where things start to make sense here in terms of these deeper passions and desires. Now, this is also making an aspect over to Neptune, as well as Chiron, which again, Chiron is sitting in your 8th house. It is at those early degrees of Aries, where it is much more impulsive, much more driven, where you can tend to have these very intense emotional wounds that trigger anger, that trigger frustration, that trigger these blocks and difficulties here in terms of experiencing this ultimate joy and pleasure in your life. But with Neptune here in Pisces in your 7th house, it can be very confusing about what it is that you want to experience in your relationships, in your connections. But there is also this element where it's asking you to be faithful, it's asking you to trust in that process, it's asking you to believe in these dreams and these possibilities becoming a reality for you, especially here in relationships, for those of you with Virgo rising. Even with those of you with Virgo Sun or Moon, you may feel and experience this as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at this last major shift here, which is Mercury entering into Taurus. And so as Mercury comes in and enters into Taurus, once again, this is slowing down things here in what you are experiencing and bringing into your life, in terms of bringing this newfound passion, this newfound pleasure, excitement, joy, fun into your life. Mercury is really slowing down. It's really asking you to take the time to think things out, to think about what it is that you value, what it is that you find worth in your experiences. Are you fully experiencing the joy and happiness and opportunity that you truly desire? And is there worth in that? Is there value in that? Is that something that you can start to invest your time into in your life? And it is making that conjunction to Lilith, which is sitting at that last degree of Aries, where once again it is about these deeper feelings and desires and allowing yourself to experience that pleasure and bringing in those opportunities and those feelings, that it's saying that it is okay for you to experience this joy and this pleasure in your life, which brings in this aspect over to Pluto retrograde and Jupiter conjunct in Capricorn in your fifth house, where once again this is this deeper transformation of starting to let go, starting to go through this process of allowing yourself to experience more joy, more optimism, more pleasure, more excitement, more fun in your life. And it is also making the aspect over to Saturn in Aquarius as well, where once again, this is your duty, this is your responsibility to do what is positive, to do what is fun, to do what is uplifting, to do what is pleasurable. Because for many of you, this is tied and connected to your health. It's tied and connected to taking care of yourself. It's tied and connected to putting out your skills and your time and your effort into that environment, which brings in that North Node in Cancer, which once again is sitting in your 11th house of friendships, of community, of these social organizations, of your hopes, your wishes, and dreams being fulfilled. And the moon is here with the North Node, which this is the last time that we will see the moon in a conjunction with the North Node in Cancer before it goes ahead and shifts into Gemini. So with the moon here in Cancer making the conjunction for this last time, it's at its critical degree. This is the North Node at 0 degrees before it goes ahead and makes a shift, which we will see the North Node enter into Gemini on May 5th. So we are at a limited time here, utilizing this last of April going into the beginning of May. This is it. This is the last opportunity for you to nurture those desires and those feelings and expressing yourself in your social circles, in your connections, in your relationships, and in trusting in the process that these dreams and these wishes of what you truly want to experience and what is truly emotionally fulfilling to you can become a reality, can be experienced. So very much relying on your faith in what you can experience and enjoy and be a part of here in April. So that was your April 2020 horoscope for Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Thanks so much for watching. Once again, if you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new content. Feel free to join the group Astro Metaphysical Love and Light to share your positive messages, your spiritual wisdom, motivational advice, psychic messages, and so forth. Feel free to join this group of love and positivity, Astro Metaphysical Love and Light. Also, feel free to join the group Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones to learn more about astrology with me. Once again, thanks so much for joining. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.